Hey crafters, the secret is out. Working with card techniques will help you build card confidence over time and develop those cards that reflect your personality and creativity. Hi, this is Creative Moments by G, and I'm G, and today we are all about teaching you some techniques that will help build that card confidence. So let's head down to the crafting table and let's get started. The colors that we'll be using today are Calypso Coral, Pretty Peacock, and Shaded Spruce. But I want to remind you, if you don't have these colors, not to worry, use the colors that you have. That is what is so great about the 3 techniques that we're going to learn today. The first thing you will need to do for this technique is to grab you a mat. This mat is going on the front of the card. Now I'm going to teach you how to create a beautiful background strip using 3 techniques. So we cut this mat 3.5 by 5.5 because it goes the entire length of a portrait card. Let me show you what I mean by that. It's going to fit right in here, just like this. So on my workspace, I want to go ahead and just bring in some paper, and I am going to just use some removable tape to put this down, just so it doesn't move. So we'll just put that about right there. And then I'm going to bring in this wonderful removable labeling tape. Now, if you haven't ever used this before, it is fantastic. You can use it and reuse it and reuse it. This is over in our Amazon store if you're interested, or you can just buy it on Amazon. So we need to get a piece of tape that goes the length of this card, a little bit longer, and then I'm going to cut it in half. So let's bring in our trimmer and let's just cut this in 1-inch strips because this is a 2-inch strip of tape. So I'm just going to line it up right here, making sure that it's straight because that is important, and slice it. Now I'm just going to take this off my trimmer, and I'm going to decide where I want to expose my area that I'm going to create the background. So I want just barely a very small border right here on the left, and I'm making sure that I line it up. And if you want to just double check to make sure, go ahead and bring in your T-ruler, and you can just line that up and make sure, line it up at the top and make sure that that's straight, and it is. Now I'm going to grab my other strip, and I want a large, about a 2-inch area right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just measure this, just to make sure I have about 2 inches. About right there is good. So I want it there. So I'm just going to look at how much space I have right there. Then I'm going to bring in my T-ruler again. Now you could also not put it on paper and use these lines on your mat to get that lined up perfectly. But I have this T-ruler. I'm just going to bring it in, line it up, and I can see that I'm off just a little bit. So we're just going to bring this down again, put my ruler there, and there we have a straight line. Now, I don't want to get anything on this little strip right here, so I am just going to bring in a piece of paper. And now let me show you what we're going to do. Our first tip, frame your area, and we are going to frame our area using blends. So I'm going to frame it with some Calypso Coral, but I just want a very small frame. I don't want a lot. So I'm just going to put my ink here. I'm going to tap on and tap off because I don't want much. And since I don't want much, we're not going to put a lot of pressure right here on the head of the brush. We're going to keep it back here just so that we can manipulate it. And we're going to start off the area that we want to provide that frame to. and just start going in just like this, very lightly. You'll see that it will make a big difference, but you can't see much right here. So we're going to tap on, tap off, start over here, and just go onto your paper very lightly. Okay, now I'm going to bring it around the bottom and the side. Starting once again off the paper and just coming up. I'm going to turn my paper. Because I do want some white right there. And now I'm going to put just a little bit at the top. And really that's all you need to do for technique 1. We're just framing the area for what will be our next technique, which is actually stamping our images. Now, when you stamp your images, you can stamp directly onto the ink pad, or you can also use your blends, your daubers that we have here, and you can create ombre kind of colors. Now, doing that gives you some depth and shading that really adds to the color combination. So the first thing I'm going to do is bring in my pretty peacock. Now I am going to stamp straight onto my ink pad, and I'm going to bring in this beautiful stamp. Just going to ink it up, and I'm just coming in from the bottom right here, and I'm going to hold it so that the color can transfer. Building your card confidence is so important because it really helps you then bring your creativity and uniqueness into the cards that you create. We're going to lift it, and look at that. Look how pretty that is. Now I'm going to go ahead and come down from the top, so I'm going to ink that up again. Just going to come in and hold it so that color can transfer. I'm going to move that to the side. And now I'm going to bring in the Calypso Coral and the pretty peacock, and we are going to use this stamp right here, and we're going to use that ombre effect that I told you about. So let's go ahead and just put this right here in the middle. Let's get our dauber, and we're just going to tap, 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 and I'm going to load up these leaves with this color. Okay, I'm going to bring in the Calypso Coral. Okay, just going to put a little more right there. I'm just going to put this right on the side right here. And look at that ombre, so pretty. Now I'm going to bring in another leaf image, but this time I'm just going to use shaded spruce. Just going to bring it in right here and hold it. Now, I want to bring in just a little bit of Calypso down here. Now, the third technique that we're going to use is you need to take just a moment and see, Do you want to add a little bit more color around the corners? And that's totally just a preference. How do you like your card to look? And I think I'm going to bring in just a little more calypso, just a little darker on those corners, just to make it pop a little more. Now, let me give you a little tip. Whenever you do this technique, you want to make sure that your inked images are completely dry. If you come in with a little bit of blending, because you can smear those colors. So just be very careful with that. I'm just going to lighten this up just a little bit. And then I'm going to go down here, lighten this up just a little bit. And now let's have the big reveal. Make sure that your hands are clean. You don't want to get any ink on this white part right here. Now look at this. Look at how pretty that looks. I'm going to take the next one off. Look at that. Now you have created this beautiful background. You didn't have to have patterned paper. You didn't have to have a lot of different stamps. Now the next thing that we need to stamp is our sentiment, and we're going to put our sentiment right here. We are going to use Night of Navy to give us a really dark stamp. So we are just tap, tap, tapping to make sure that we load up that stamp really well. We're going to add it right there. And we're just going to hold it and let that color transfer. Look at that. Just beautiful. You could add it to a white card. And if you wanted to, you could cut a large mat and put it behind here and then just add it to the front of your card. Or you could save some paper, some cardstock, and just cut a very small strip. Now you would need to cut a 1/4 inch by 5.5. So let's go ahead and cut our 5.5 inches. Then we're going to cut a 1/4 inch strip, because we just want 1/8 to show, just to give it a very small strip. Now I'm going to bring in my silicone mat. I'm going to bring in my strip, and I'm just going to put some glue right here on the left-hand side. I'm going to just add this right to the card, just about 1/8 of an inch. Just going to press down. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Just a nice little strip of glue. Add it to the back of the card. And there we have our mat. Look at that. Look at how pretty that is. Now let's go ahead and add this to the front of our card. A white card, and look how it pops. Now make sure you stay with us, because I have 3 cards to show you using these techniques so that you can see a variety of ways that you can build your card confidence. So let's go ahead and just add this to the card, the front of the card, using glue. Now you could set it up on dimensionals if you wanted to. So remember, this goes all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom. Just going to add it. And now look at this card. You didn't need patterned paper. You created your own background. you used all 3 techniques to build that card confidence. We framed it first, and I was going to tell you a little tip about that. You want to make sure when you tape off your area that you use technique number 1, framing with your blends first. Otherwise, if you stamp your images and then you try to frame it with your blends, it might smear, and you don't want it to smear. So go ahead and frame it first with your blends and then use technique 2. Come in and stamp those images. Use a little bit of ombre to stamp your images. And then on 3, go back and check. Do you want to add a little bit more definition in these corners just to make it pop a little more? Then stamp your sentiment. Now, you could double mat this on the inside, but you don't have to. So, here is our card, creating our background using our techniques. But I want to show you another card that I made. But this time, I did the same colors. This time, I just created a landscape card. Which card is your favorite? Take a moment, leave a comment. Do you prefer the portrait card or the landscape card? I used the same images, and those images are from this beautiful stamp set, Botanical Layers. Now, once again, you don't have to have these images. Just any image that stamps like a silhouette so that you don't have to go in and color it. So here are these 2 cards, a portrait and a landscape. And now here is another sample. Look at this one. We did a landscape. We framed it using technique 1. We stamped our images. We did a little ombre there on the leaf, different areas. We used our daubers, technique 2. And on technique 3, we didn't really feel a need to go in and increase the depth on our corners. So here we have another one. And finally, we have this one. We taped it off. We created the landscape. We came in and we stamped these beautiful flowers, some butterflies, took off our tape. We did frame it first because that's important. Stamped our message. So let us know which is your favorite. Well, we hope you liked these techniques that I shared with you today. This really does help you build that card confidence as you go out and create your perfect card using your personality, style, and creativity. Techniques can really help you build that card confidence. We hope you were inspired by these techniques and that you take a moment and subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up. Well, Maude and I want to wish you a fantastic day, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.